In this video, we're talking about everything that we want to see coming up in College Football 26, and we're talking purely from the gameplay perspective of what you're going to get when you're actually stepping foot on the virtual gridiron. Let's get into this bad boy. So first thing we got to talk about is two abilities that I think need to either get removed or very much tuned down. And really, it's just the platinum version of these abilities that suck. So I think if we just tune that down, it'd be perfect. And I'm talking about Extender, and I'm also talking about Takeoff. When these abilities are on the platinum level, the platinum badge, they're so overpowered. They're so flipping good. And the reason that that's important is because while in actual regs, there might only be one or two players at a given time who will have an ability of this degree. And maybe there's some justification right there where these are players who are kind of generational at this one skill. When we get into college ultimate team, and especially around this time of the year, once we get into more of the post actual football season time of the year, these become so prevalent and these become so genuinely unrealistic to have everywhere across your field. And there's not enough counters to these types of abilities, right? Something like Platinum Takeoff, to actually defend this, you have to have a defensive back who's backed off. You might even need robber on him. But even on top of that, really, you need a safety who's in a deep half helping over top of that. So it's like having that one on numerous sides of the field, but then also having like it's so extreme, and we don't have the ability. The game isn't made to be able to counter these abilities because the ability is made for a generational type player, and at no point should you have a numerous generational players all in this one skill on one side of the ball, right? It's pretty unrealistic. And again, like, is that maybe what Ultimate Team is supposed to be to some extent? Yes, but there also just isn't the built-in counters to this ability that we can utilize on a fairly realistic basis. I actually think that my genuine solution for this is simply take platinum abilities out of Ultimate Team, right? Because I could see why, especially going into the year, someone like Jalen Milrow might have platinum extender. I guess that's fair. Is that insane? And would I be okay if he didn't have it? Sure. But is it supposed to represent a true generational player? Yes. Is Jalen Milrow a generational player? No, but, like, I get the idea behind it, right? It's supposed to represent that. But again, you just run to the issue where we get into Ultimate Team and there's so many of these abilities, and even once one player pops up with it, all of the best teams in the game end up getting this player, and you're at such a massive disadvantage if you don't have them. It becomes super pay to play, and then on top of that, or super, like, super duper grind to play, and then on top of that, you just move a few months later, and there's a ton of these on the field. So I really, really, really think that they really like the ability itself is way too good when it's at platinum. And the easiest solution, take platinum abilities out of ultimate. Team. I think that's by far easy solution. Now, if you want to know real quick the best place to be getting better at College Football 25 and upcoming in College Football 26, you need to check out my website, civil.gg, which is linked in the top of the description. We have over 2,000 active members right now, with 98% of them saying that they've won more games since joining. Here you'll find full offensive and defensive schemes designed to help you win more games. Again, the link to that is in the top description. And right now, with code CIVIL30, you can get 30% off and unlock everything you need right now. The amount of times I've been on defense or I've been on offense and the ball carrier has hit the sideline and turned upfield, and I've watched every other player on the field who's trying to tackle him become a 6-year-old football player playing Pee Wee and just take the worst pursuit angle ever, is comical. Now, any given Saturday, we will see some pretty bad pursuit angles be taken, especially on some big plays. You can actually pull up highlights, and like a lot of these highlights would not be highlights if people had better pursuit angles. Very just true. With that being said, I do think we're on the extreme other side of it, where pursuit angles are bad in real life, but we have some like comically bad pursuit angles, which makes a very explosive game and a very offensive heavy game, which I think it should be an offensive heavy game. It makes it so much harder as a defensive player, whether it's a CPU, whether it's you, whether you're playing somebody, whether you're playing against CPU, whatever it might be. It's so much tougher. Now, there is a rating that's slightly tied to called pursuit, and there's some thresholds that are kind of baked in there. I just think the easy answer is to improve everybody's pursuit. Whatever those thresholds are, make them all better. They just have to be, in my opinion. I also don't believe that we would ever get to a. I think of some things like this where I see terrible pursuit and I get mad on either side of the ball, right? Whether or not I'm the one trying to make the tackle or I'm the one kind of running, I'm like, that's bad, right? I don't think I would ever get to the point where I'm like, that's bad, where I see someone take a perfect pursuit angle at me, right? We're on the ball here. It's like, dang, he hawked me. Like, I guess that comes down to like speed and whatnot, right? Like that's my thinking. Or if I'm on defense, I'm like, thank you, like way to actually make a play on the ball. Pursuit is something that has to get improved, in my opinion. It's a big, to me, it's just like a quality of life thing. And it also, when you have bad pursuit, it makes the game feel like, to me at least, I like look at the game I'm like, that's dumb. And again, maybe it's that is like there's some realism there, and there definitely is. To me, though, we're just on the wrong side of it. I said I was going to talk about everything that we get when we're on the virtual gridiron actually playing the game. And one of them is actually the idea of dynamic weather and progressive lighting. In the game, game times or game start times are all either noon, 3, 6, or I think 8 or 8:30. I think it's 8. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. There should be, as the game goes on, right? The lighting should just change. The sun moves, the sun sets, different, like the sun casts different shadows. That'd be cool. What I'll say with that, and this also goes with the idea of weather, where if it's raining at the start of a game, it's probably not the same amount of rain at the end of the game. It might not even be raining at the end of the game. Same with snow. It might be not snowing, then it might start snowing, stuff like that, right? Snow might build up. What I'll say with that though specifically is that if you've done anything, even in the computer programming world ever, you know that that is one of those things that is so much easier said than done. I know, like, specifically just from talking to EA in the past, that like lighting and the how snow plays a factor, all that stuff, especially because dynamically getting onto the field and all that, like, genuinely is like pretty tough to just kind of get down. So do keep that in mind because one of the things that when I say it, I'm like, oh, that's obvious, and super easy. And I know that is a, or I'm very confident that that is a goal of EA to get to that point. Whether or not we get there next year, we can only wait and find out. But I do think it's a cool thing that should be added. That it's just cool, in my opinion. So this is a big quality of life thing. I don't know if you know, but if you're in the formation screen in an actual game or practice mode, you can press Y or triangle, and then you can actually change who you have in different positions. Okay, so right here, we have Nixon starting at our halfback in gun, normal, wild, close. We can select him, and then we can change him to whoever. Let's say I want King here for whatever reason, right? Think about certain things like different wildcat packages. Maybe, we're in bunch quads open, and I want a different QB right here because I want to be able to run this RPO draw or this QB blast. You can do that. What I want though is the ability to do this and set it in stone because this will last for an entire game, but it resets every game. Set it in stone in the menu somehow. And I would assume each game mode has its own menu for this. So we're talking regs, we're talking dynasty, we're talking cut. This would be a huge quality of life thing, so you don't have to make those substitutions every single game. And it's also, I think it just adds a little bit of realism to it because also this is something that coaches do in real life before the game, right? So it's just like you just add a little bit of stuff that more mimics what we're doing on an actual week basis in real life, and we're adding that to the game. I don't know what that looks like logistically totally, and I could see some issues with Ultimate Team because like your playbook could change and your actual team itself could change. But I do think that's a really cool goal worth kind of working towards for EA. And it's something that would just it's just a massive quality of life upgrade. I know this one is a huge pain point for people, and I actually think EA got this right for the most part. The idea of stadium pulse. It is very, very hard to make different hot routes. You'll see, like, it's very hard to see your play art. I think that's fine. I think it should kind of look like this. It's very, very hard to make different hot routes. People will be like, what? What'd you say? You'll get question marks that you see right here. I do want to make a suggestion to EA for this, and it's something that one is a big quality of life, and two, I think just at least in my opinion, just makes sense. If we're going to get nice, is the idea that I don't think Stadium Pulse should be applying very much to your halfback and to your tight end. And the reason for this is really two things. One, there's just a fact of the matter that if you're playing in like an online dynasty or really a dynasty at all, CPU, and your opponent is running a blitz, you should have the ability for your quarterback to walk, if he has to, walk over and tell the halfback, hey, I need you to block, right? I need you to block right here. And then I think you should also be able to do the same thing for your tight end. He's close enough to the QB where we should be able to make that happen, right? And right here, we're actually able to get it. In this case, we're not always able to get that. The other thing with it too, outside of just like need this for blocking, and the game's kind of unplayable if you're playing against a cheese blitz and you can't actually, block somebody. The other thing with it too is just that like these guys are close enough to where the QB can actually just like talk to him, right? Like the QB can actually just like tell the halfback block, tell the halfback what the protection is, tell the halfback whatever it is. Right here, I'm trying to hot run my halfback, I can't. And I'm just getting question marks. It's like, dude, you're right next to me. We should be able to make this happen, right? And so that to me, and mind you, I just call them random plays. That to me, though, a very, very big deal. That makes sense for a fix, both from like a realism standpoint and from a hey, like the game is unplayable in certain situations unless you can actually block your halfback and your tight end in these very specific type situations against certain blitzes. Let's dot Texas right here though. Bang! Oh, we're out of there. Oh, we're out of there. Oh, we're out of there. Are we? Stiffy? Good play nonetheless. That's a like to me, this is a no-brainer, like just slight fix, and it'd make the game way more enjoyable and just more playable. So I think this idea paired with the idea of improving pursuit angles would really help limit the run game a good amount in a way that seems really, really fair, at least to me, and also keeps like the authenticity of like the game being very explosive. I think user tackling needs to get now, there's a lot of fine lines with this, and it's a very scary thing. But I'll say this is that the amount of times I felt like I have rubbed shoulders with my user defender on the ball carrier and I've done nothing to him is insane. We've gotten to a point where getting your user one on one with a ball carrier, like you're gonna lose that battle almost every single time. And there's an argument of like, hey, dude, one-on-one tackling is incredibly hard in real life football, and that's super fair. With that being said, though, I do think there's a point where, as a video game, where we are actually controlling and using the controller here, and we're being, we're being the middle linebacker, we're being the high safety coming down, whatever it might be. We do need more, whether it's tools or just the better functionality of making user tackles, especially when we're within a very close radius and we're actually like rubbing physically with the physics engine, rubbing shoulders with the ball carrier. I've seen this a ton, and it's just so hard to make these cuts and to be able to actually line up a tackle on the ball carrier with your user. I think there needs to be some way to make this a little bit simpler. Now, you have to be careful with this, and so right, bear with me here where there's been years past, especially in Madden years past, where I could think of like Madden 21, where there was an ability called Secure Tackler that did this, but also Madden 20 Secure Tackler did this, and also previous Maddens had this built in, where you get like a bunch of suction tackles. You got to be careful with that because I don't want a dude warping to the ball carrier from 3 yards away. And again, that's where I'm honestly asking for a lot in this request. With that being said, though, I do think there needs to be a buff to to specifically user tackling, and we want to take that a step further. Almost make it to where not so much click on tackling, but the actual user itself, whoever you're on pre-snap, if you get him in position to make a tackle, he should have a higher success rate to make a tackle or to at least initiate contact of some sort, right? Maybe it's not a tackle, maybe it's something slowing down the ball carrier. I think that paired with better pursuit would put an end to a lot of what we saw, especially at the beginning of the year with like an overpowered wildcat system, overpowered certain ball carrier moves, things like that. I think that would be an incredibly healthy balance while still maintaining some skill gap in tackling, especially if we made it where it is that user defender we're starting with, he gets that buff, to whatever that might end up actually being. I think that's super fair because there's still a lot of skill in just getting in position. And again, I really just want more tools or more ability at my disposal as a defender to be able to make these open field tackles. Because there's times where the skill needed to make somebody miss an open field is very little in this game. And making people miss an open field is a skill. And that is a lot of people can't do it at an elite level. And in this game, everybody can do it at an elite level. And I don't think that should be the case. And I think that's the way we get around that is by making it easier for defenders to line up, get in position, and initiate contact. This one's really low-hanging fruit for me, and I think it's a very simple idea that we should allow every position to play every position. Now, reasoning behind it is very, very simple. One, with the way wear and tear is in the game right now, which I have some thoughts on, but with the way it is in the game right now, if I want to put my defensive tackle at halfback, I'm probably going to get worn and torn, and he's not going to be able to play defensive tackle very well for very long, okay? On top of that, too, a defensive tackle at halfback isn't going to have very good carrying, other good, other good stats as well with that. So you're putting yourself at a huge risk by doing a lot of these out of position things, right? One of the most popular ones is Isaiah Bond on Texas. A lot of people will put him at corner, and you can do this, but Isaiah Bond has a very low tackling, doesn't have great zone, et cetera, et cetera. And so you are, costing yourself by doing that a little bit. The other thing too is that this is just realistic. Teams do this at both the collegiate and the NFL level in certain packages, and you'll even see, different two-way players, which obviously you can do with Travis Hunter in the game. But I just think it's something that we should be able to do. And if I want to put in my safety at quarterback for some reason, I should be able to do that. I'll probably just pay the consequences of it. The biggest issue I could see coming from this is maybe in Ultimate Team where you get like out of position players, I guess, and be able to play them both ways. But I don't know. I'm personally I don't see a ton of downside to it. Makes the game more fun, and I think there's a lot of risk involved too. I don't think it's overpowered by any means. Big one for me, and this is gonna open up a lot of stuff that's especially like under center. Is we need better interior offensive line blocking and really just better integrity with that, right? And this goes for things such as like blitzes that come right at the A gap, things like disengages, like we saw with mid blitz earlier this year, and even in the run game. One of the biggest reasons that like something like Flexbone is really tough to run is because you will have a lot of times not and undesigned. It's not part of like what Flexbone, like the actual repeat here is somebody just coming free and making a tackle on the ball carrier when he should not be free, when the blocking assignments show that he's getting blocked. We just need better interior line integrity where they're actually blocking and not allowing penetration on the inside. A lot of people have talked about like wide receivers need to be better at blocking, stuff like that, and that's fair. But to me, that doesn't kill run plays nearly as much as poor integrity or even pass plays. Poor integrity in the middle where you get that inside penetration and the play's dead and you lose a bunch of yards. I think there's a good chance you disagree with me on this one, but I'll stand by it. I think there are too many jump balls, one on one, and even one receiver on two defender situations that get caught by the offense. Now, this is where I'm going to start going a little bit more into the competitive realm. I think objectively, throwing the ball up, just tapping the icon, is a bad ball. It takes very little user skill. And in my opinion, in gameplay, especially if we're playing on Heisman difficulty or playing online, things should go back towards the idea of trying to optimize and trying to, really try to do everything we can for the user skill to play a factor. And, my mom could come here and she could press B one on one to Travis Hunter and just lob it up and she could catch that ball. I think that's dumb, and I've had it happen to me way too many times. I think there is a skill in getting receivers who are open, who are able to catch the ball without being, absorbing contact, and I would like to see that improved upon in the next year. I think a lot of people disagree with me on that. I even have seen comments in other places on my wish list where people don't catch enough of those balls, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, I think we're gonna disagree. But disagreeing's okay. And with that being said, that's gonna wrap up everything. If there's something you feel like I missed in the game, remember this is all gameplay realm. Let me know in the comment section below. If some of you agree with me, disagree with me on, let me know in the comment section below. And again, if you want to get better at College Football 25 and College Football 26, you need to check out my website, civil.gg. Over 2,000 active members. 98% of them say they've won more games. Link to that top description. See you guys all over there.